Today we've got a lot to do. First and foremost, I want to give you an update on the 1093 versus 365 KVK. I want to show you the Eve of the Crusade scores for my Restart Kingdom. And last but not least, we're going to max out the Dalruk's puzzle box on my main account. Let's get started. Hello my friends and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and today's video is sponsored by the makers of Rise of Kingdoms. And one thing that I know, having fought against 365 in the past in this exact KVK format, is exactly how they're going to fight this out and how they're going to play the zone. And at this point, in fact, all week long, I think they've probably just kind of been chilling, waiting for Kingsland, because they know better than anybody else that no one is making any progress in this absolute disaster zone of forts. So what has happened on the left-hand side of the zone and the right-hand side of the zone? Well, if we get a look here, I live streamed 93 had been up to this pass and they were rallying it. It does look like they've regained access to that pass. However, it does also look like NCA has been able to build some forts and establish a little foothold outside of the pass here. So there is probably not going to be any meaningful progress or change through this river, especially before Kingsland opens. It's really just a dead zone. Maybe they'll rally, maybe they won't. Everyone kind of understands that, we could pop our expansions and fight it out and spend a bunch of time, or we could just kind of look at each other and do nothing. And I think the do-nothing option is extremely attractive, given how meaningless this fighting really is, and how little it's actually draining anything at all for either side. So if we get a look here, you can see this is one Kingsland Pass, and here's the other Kingsland Pass, and this has been almost the exact same battlefront for a week, so no one's going anywhere. The same is true on the right-hand side, although there was something exciting that happened. The circle opened up for contention, and I kind of wish I had been streaming it. 1093 showed up big to this circle, and they took it, which was pretty cool to see, which means that the circle distribution is, in fact, even. It was possible that Team 365 would get a circle advantage, but they didn't get it. Now, this circle does reopen in 7 hours and 34 minutes, and it opens for, I believe, 4 hours, and it's 100% casualties, if I'm not mistaken, at a holy site. So, regardless of what the casualty numbers are, this could be contentious in 7.5 hours. Kind of exciting. And if we zoom back out, as you can see from our alliance marker, they're still going here, but very little has changed on this battlefront at all. It does look like Arco does still have some territory here, which is very good for them. Who is 20OH? I think it's an ally of theirs. So they are holding on to some land in this zone, and there is fighting going on, but it is quite meaningless. Neither side will accomplish anything relevant to the final fight. The final fight in Kingsland will determine everything, and at that point, the side defenses will likely fall as the morale on one side or another inevitably crumbles toward the sort of conclusion of the KVK being more or less finalized in Kingsland. That's what I expect will happen. So the question is, who's going to win? Well, this, I believe, opens on 10/4. I do intend to live stream this. Subscribe if you haven't already, in case you want to see the live stream and all the action going on in Kingsland in this Battle of the Titans. I mean, I feel like the winner of this KVK, in some ways, gets to declare that they're sort of the heavyweight champion, the sort of biggest, baddest, big kingdom in the game that is running 3 to 4 alliances worth of players. And I think it's really kind of like a 3.5 to 4 alliances worth of players that both kingdoms have, although I could be wrong about that. So very exciting to see this all go down, but I've also got a KVK coming up very soon myself. In fact, I'll be entering KVK tomorrow night. I will be streaming that. So you're definitely going to want to check that out. It's going to be on my Restart Kingdom. This is a top versus bottom Warriors Unbound KVK. And the thing that's kind of exciting is that although the opposing war camps have more kingdoms, more power, and more kill points, right now, when you look at the distribution of kingdoms, it's actually pretty close for the Eve of the Crusade. And also, the amount of power difference, the amount of KP difference, it's not I think, so large where it's like, oh yeah, no, there's no shot here. I actually think this KVK could go either way, and we'll have to see how the fighting goes, right? But our allies are currently the #1 ranked kingdom, just by a little. The enemy, 1647, who we've allied with in the past, is #2. Our allies are #3. The enemy is #4. Our allies are #5. The enemy is #6. My kingdom is #7. We don't push in the Eve of the Crusade because it's pretty meaningless, especially because we're not going to get a top 3. We'd rather have the speed ups and resources for field fighting than trading a bunch of troops. And also, it's really no sense spending AP on the barbs when you could have spent them in KVK for crystals. So we really don't push in Eve of the Crusade. Historically, we never have. Then it's an enemy camp, and then it's another enemy camp. Like I said, there's one extra enemy war camp here. All in all, I mean, I think this is going to be a really fun KVK to play and a really fun KVK to spectate. So again, consider subscribing if you haven't already. But now we go to the main account. And we are queued for KVK on the main account as well. We queued up for Strife of the 8th. So we'll see how that ultimately looks in terms of who else queues. As of right now, 1175 has not queued for KVK. 1846 has not yet queued for KVK. So we'll see if any other big kingdoms ultimately queue with us. I think we're taking a stance that historically 1960 has taken, which is to queue for KVK very quickly. So we're like, I don't know, I think this is our first pop, maybe our second pop, but I'm pretty sure this is our first pop out of KVK. Certainly it's our first pop after our migration is finished. And yeah, Strife of the 8, here it is. We're queued up for it. So very hyped about that. And for those of you that really hadn't seen, we crested 18 billion power as an alliance, which is pretty nutty. Right now, we have 2 people out of the alliance, probably getting resources from their farms. However, I also can show you a quick look at the Zenith of power, where we hold the top 10 places. I'm all the way down to #8. So some folks pushed up, I guess, for comfort. You know, if someone else pushes from another kingdom, you really want to be, you know, not the last one. So right now, Albanin would be at risk if somebody else pushed. Theoretically, someone else could push, but I'm pretty sure Albanin and Fat Hands will be online in the next 8.5 hours or so in order to push if they need to make sure they win Zenith of Power. I don't plan to stream that because I don't think it's going to be a crazy push, but if that changes, maybe I'll live stream it and it could be a good time. But now we need to go and do Dalruk's puzzle box. Now, I generally don't do Dalruk's puzzle box because I historically haven't needed materials that badly, and there are other ways to spend gems to get materials. Now that a new equipment system is on its way into the game, my friends, I need all the materials I can get. So here we are, spending gems on the Dalruk's puzzle box, and then, you know, I will spend money on armaments, and then the gems into material-related events. That's the game plan. So here we go. You've seen this event before. The weirdness of this event is that, do I want to buy all the mechanisms? I don't think I need to buy all of them. So basically, if you get to the end of the event, I don't think it saves your progress in terms of the number of squares you had flipped over. And you can only do a limited, I think it's 220 mechanism pulls per Dalruk's puzzle box. So you don't want to buy all the mechanisms because, like, technically, you don't want to get to a incomplete stage at the end of the event, and you could run out of mechanisms. So you want to avoid that. But this is going to be a pretty moderate amount of legendary materials as I blast my way through this, which, you know, I find that the average number of pulls it takes here is like 11 to 12 to get your prizes here. So let's just keep doing this real quick. We jam this out on the main. Okay, 4 pulls. Actually amazing. Now, the Dalruk's private collection. So exclusive. And 5 free tries. It's not a very good pull, TBH. It is what it is. Technically, the free tries let you go over the 220 total mechanism pulls. So here we go. See, this is more like it. 13. This is more what I expect for the old Dalruk's puzzle box. But let's get those materials, baby, in preparation for the new equipment system. I'm also going to need a lot of patterns, like a lot of patterns. So that's going to be special. Okay, here we go. jam our way through. So yeah, I'm telling you, it averages that like 12 plus range for the number of times you need to pull to get all the prizes. Here we go. On our way through. When the new infantry equipment drops, well, not new infantry, all new equipment drops, I'm obviously going to move in on infantry because I'm an infantry main account. And what am I going to get? I have a couple thoughts here. So depending on how the set is looking, the set, depending on what stats they give all these different pieces, could be the important way to go. But assuming that it isn't, that it's the Eternal Knight and the Hope Cloak that are still the jam, well, I think I have a lot of those patterns saved up. So I'll smash out my sort of Eternal Knight and Hope Cloak as high as I can get them, as fast as I can get them there. And I may have the patterns for it. Maybe even to max them, but probably not, but maybe. And also the thing we'll need to get a look at is actually the material efficiency of doing the upgrades. Like, I don't know if it's going to be linear progression or exponential progression or decreasing progression, depending on, you know, getting higher level and then you get less. I feel like 10 crystal keys is not all that exciting, but okay, I'll take it. What would I have wanted? I want the legendary materials. I just want materials. And then I still feel like the best thing is probably going to be the KVK weapon and the KVK helmet. That to me seems like it's unlikely to change. Okay, here we go. Smashing through these. Boom. So I'll do the KVK weapon, KVK helmet, Hope Cloak, and Eternal Knight. And then I need a lot of patterns for boots and gloves. And man, those just take forever to get. Like boots and gloves just take a very, very long time. And I think I'm going to do set boots and set gloves unless for some reason the non-set stuff is insane. It would have to be really insane for me to consider crafting the non-set stuff. I don't think it will be for the boots and the gloves. But man, you just never know kind of what the stat distribution is going to be. It's going to be a whole new world out there. Okay, boom. More legendary materials. I mean, one thing to consider, right, is like, okay, so what they could do is they could go in and they could add just more defense, attack, and health. Alternatively, they could add things like normal attack damage, march speed, skill damage, damage mitigation, all damage. I mean, there's a lot of stuff they could do with equipment. And we're just going to have to see kind of what those stat upgrades ultimately are. Now, we're closing in on some of our final mechanism pulls here, but as you can see, it takes an average of like more than 12 pulls to get the prize here. So this is not a pure random event, because if it was, sometimes on 1, 2, or 3, I would be getting more of the, you know, complete pulls here, like you see here. Boom. All right. Let's keep going. I need all the materials. Dalruk's exclusive collection. Okay. The private collection, please. Bro, that's got to be the worst pick. The gold has to be the absolute worst pick. GG. It is also weird that, like, I don't know, I haven't gone all the way to 16. I'm not complaining. Oh, I need more mechanisms. We'll gem out a few more of these. So, you know, this event, if you were gemming the VIP shop, then this is certainly an event worth considering if you're looking for a way to accelerate your progression for materials. But for most people, honestly, the Dalruk's Puzzle Box is not really the way to go. Instead, you should do Egg Event, for sure. And the way you would play Dalruk's Puzzle Box as a free-to-play or low spender is that you basically do the 5 free mechanisms, hope that you get the legendary crate, but you probably won't. And then if you want, you can gem to get to the legendary crate and then stop after the 1 level. So you're basically getting 2,000 gems worth of mechanisms toward the legendary crate, which, you know, I think on average you'll luck out and get a good result spending a very small amount of gems, getting your 1 legendary crate and kind of calling it there. Speaking of calling it there, I have 17 mechanisms left to use. So let's be very careful here. I can definitely guarantee that I can get this floor, but I don't need too many more mechanisms to get this done. I guess technically the strictly speaking correct way to do this is 1 at a time, but I think it's so unlikely that I'll pop early here. We blast through that. All right. And how lucky or unlucky will I be? That's more than 12. Okay. Come on. Please. Please. There we go. 13. Not bad. Not bad. Okay. Cool. Well, I'm pretty happy getting all these materials. Looking forward to the new equipment system. Again, if you haven't seen the video talking about how equipment is changing, you're going to want to check that out. Card will be in the end screen. And if you want to see the crazy pass opening from the 1093 365 KVK that ultimately resulted in the sort of lay of the land that I showed in this video, card will be in the end screen for that as well.